to focus on this pelvic area, okay? That means the upper outer thighs. So stand in Tadasana right now. You can have your feet hip width apart, but toe in just slightly. And that inward toeing makes it seem more natural, I think, to scrub the heels in slightly. And by scrubbing the heels in slightly, you begin to activate the whole leg. And I hope you can feel that. And then by activating the whole leg, and particularly I want you to be aware of the inner and outer thigh, as well as the front and the back. They do different things. But these upper outer thighs are used to bring this bone. Now make a little more effort here into the hip socket. And when you do that, I hope you can feel, you may be able to feel something up your spine. So release it. Now that I've given you a preview, re-step yourself, stand up tall, but mainly scrub the heels in a little bit and bring these outer thighs into the hip socket and see, can you feel a little something up your spine? Now, in addition to that, these front thighs need to lift. And the back hamstrings should broaden. They all go to work, but they work differently. Then the tailbone and pubic bone, think of those two bones being drawn toward one another and the pelvic floor lifting. That is something that you can practice a lot, even in public, and people will only think you have great posture. So as long as you don't look too concentrated and strained, you can smile while you do it, then nobody's going to know you're doing anything but have great posture. So once you've got this firmness down below, begin to feel this lengthening through the side body and through the front and back. Let it be, Mr. Iyengar used to say, circumferential. And many of us tend to favor one side or another. So see if you can make them feel, or at least have equal attention. Then we're going to firm the arms, extend the palms. And as you pull your arms down, your neck will naturally want to extend up. And keep your jaw parallel to the floor. And see if you could bring your head back just the tiniest bit. It's not a big movement, but it's a profound one. And if you're prone to tension headaches, you probably will feel it more than others. And find a balance here and find your breath. Every time we move, it's like throwing a pebble in a lake. You know, there's a rippling effect in all directions. So now as we bring our arms up, I want you to be aware of that and control the rippling affections through your body as you bring your arms up. And by paying attention like this, we learn our own habits. We learn action and reaction and how we react. And then once your arms are up and you've observed, press your feet down more, make your legs more firm, tailbone to pubic bone more firm, the lower abdomen moves inward, waist lengthens, lengthen up the sides of your body and feel those parallel lines of extension. The ribs, front ribs, and so that you breathe easily, but there's still a very strong line of extension through your trunk. And then let your hands at the wrist, the middle fingers point together. And we're going to stretch up from there. So again, maintain those lines of stretch, that symmetry in your action, the perfection. I just noticed one of my little fingers wandered off. That kind of perfection is what we're looking for. My thumbs weren't quite the same. I can do better if I pay attention. Okay, extend and come down. Just stand for a moment. Your arms may feel light. All right. All right, then we're going to do, we're going to work on our shoulders. Oh, speaking of shoulders, Ronnie's not here. She hurt her shoulder. So send her a lot of shoulder love, okay? Is everybody here okay? Okay, so we're going to do these, our favorite arm stretches. They're strenuous for everybody. So today, in addition to being sure that we have these arms in the right place, what I want you to do is to pay more attention to what happens in your trunk. Because humans are pretty smart critters, and we try to make it easier by releasing our trunk. So work between this extension of the arm, and then my trunk is sort of tensing up around this way, right? So how can I then make this more of a unified action? I did it this way just so you could see my front. And you'll see from the side. Okay, get a little slower stretching the shoulder. So we're going to stand away from the wall at first. Maybe, what is that? For me, my floor is about 6-7 boards. I got plenty of room here. And it's just a very minor stretch. I'm very happy with that right now. Standing in Tadasana now, I want to add my Tadasana. That makes things more interesting. When I did that, I noticed that I let my shoulder just ride up with the rest of the pose. So bring your shoulder down. Get your body perpendicular to the wall. And I find too that if I will soften my knees a bit, you know how I reset my posture from the bottom up. It helps to refine the action. So everything else is Tadasana. So make that other arm firm, just because we're working with awareness mainly. All right, so soften that, turn around. This is a lot more humane approach, isn't it? So stand about, I don't know, this is probably about 1.5 foot or so from the wall. If you need more, fine. If you're comfortable closer, fine. Just giving you something of an idea. And this arm is shoulder height. Okay. And then when we do this, also remember this shoulder tends to roll forward. We want to roll that shoulder back. We don't want this shoulder to go forward. Roll it back and down. So once your arm is up, we can start with that shoulder, roll it down, tuck that shoulder blade into your rib cage and turn that rib cage. I think you're on your left side. I didn't say. Whichever side's next to the wall. And so move that forward. And then notice how each side of your rib cage feels. Mine don't feel at all the same. So now now that this arm is settling in a bit, I want to work a little more on my posture, bringing the whole thing together. So just soften your knees a bit. Think of that tailbone pubic bone action. Let that action move up your trunk. Acknowledge the fact that the left side of the rib cage is more engaged than the right, and see if you, or whichever side is at the wall. So the part of your, the side that's of the rib cage or the middle of the room, engage it more and soften the side that's near the wall, so that there's more harmony there. And as you straighten and stretch your legs up, feel those dual lines of extension. Shoulders are down, head is back, breathing. And slowly, slowly release. Mark where you were on the floor and see if you can move in a couple of inches closer, okay? And put your arm up on the wall, about shoulder height. Roll that shoulder down. I'm on my right. Whichever one is the right one for you, that's fine. We only have two choices. So roll that shoulder down, get a little closer, it's a little more challenging. It's okay. And begin to roll your chest forward. Feel that wonderful stretch up through these are pectoral muscles. And for those of us who had breast cancer with reconstruction, we can definitely feel this. Then acknowledge that there's a disparity in the trunk, more than likely. So again, as you tuck the shoulder blades in to adjust the rib cage. And time again, go back and reset your Tadasana action from the feet, through the pelvic floor, up through the waist, and the trunk, shoulders, neck, and head. Keep that outer arm a little bit firm, just so there's a broad awareness. Slow, steady breath. And then release that. Now realize the final pose here is this. Work at your level of comfort. I mean, you should be feeling a stretch, but it should not be torture. All right. Get yourself. You can move that trunk perpendicular to the wall. Get the shoulder blades down. Lift your trunk. Turn the side that's closest to the wall forward. Acknowledge the disparity in the rib cage. Lift up evenly and equally. Re-engage Tadasana, legs, pelvic floor, up through the trunk. Shoulders down, head back, breathe. And slowly release that. And just stand in Tadasana. And maybe your arms feel light again. This is a wonderful exercise for anybody. At any time. You walk in through your house and you walk through a doorway. You can also do this just with your forearm on the door jamb. And just take a minute and work your way around, right? And be aware of the disparities and work your way through it. And it's a good little mini break. It's so funny. I don't know about you, but since we've been home, time just evaporates like it always did. I think it's here. So we can take control of that. All right. Let's do Virabhadrasana 1. And we can do this at the wall. We'll face the wall the first time and move away the second time. I chose this pose. Why? Virabhadrasana 1 is this pose where the feet are wide apart. We have our arms up, and look what happens. You get all sway back in there. It's pretty normal. And so we have to think, how can I get this under me to start with anyway? So I tell you to soften the back knees and then slowly take that back heel down with more awareness in this pelvic area, number 1. And then let that awareness draw up. The waist wants to go forward. Draw it in and up. And then our job is to keep all of that as we go, okay? I wanted to do that because I'm going to have my back to the wall. But I'm going to turn around and watch you. I mean, my face. So pose up the wall. And then take a giant, giant, giant step back. And square yourself up with the wall. And this is where the wall, it really helps us because it gives us leverage to turn from our hips, turn our trunk, and to press back so we can stretch that back leg a little better. And then come out of that and repeat it. Shoulders are down. Now notice where your belly button goes. Mine would like to go toward the floor. I want it to go toward the ceiling. And keep that as you bend your right knee. Keep all of that. Here is all of that pelvic work. Pelvic floor is in there. That total awareness of your trunk. If your heel comes up, do not worry. Just keep stretching that back leg with all of your might. Shoulders are back, chest is up. Really turn toward the wall. All right, come out and change sides. Oh, I think Lee is frozen. All right, so your left. Fingertips are on the wall. Way back. Get that leg way back. So remember when it's just so much simpler to get the pelvis at least started when your knees are a little bent. So take advantage of this and draw your tailbone, pubic bone in and up. That's a little misspoken. Pubic bone goes in and up. Tailbone goes in. The tip of it goes down. And try straightening your legs 1 or 2 times. And then each time, look for Tadasana action from the hip crease, top of that leg up. Take those outer thighs in. Then bend that knee and watch what happens to your belly. Let your shoulders retract and keep your belly in and lift it. And bend your knee and stretch that back leg and lift your chest and breathe. Good, and then come up. Okay, good. Left side. So is this, what I'm hoping is that this is really helping you pay attention in this general area from your waist to the top thigh, okay? And the power that area has is what we're using today. Left toes in. On the other side. Were we done? I think we were done. Okay, good. All right. So now I want us to go to the floor. I'm going to give you 2 options, or 3 actually. You can't, all right, a couple of options. Let me show you what we want to ultimately do, and then I'll show you options. So let me demo. So we're going to sit back in Virasana. We're going to sit on our heels, knees out. And it's good to sit there for just a moment. And then we're going to walk our hands forward. If you can put your forehead on the floor, then go right ahead and do that. If you need a blanket or something like that for your forehead, or you can cross your arms, simpler, cross your arms and put your forehead on your arms. But when you do that, you have to remember to kind of walk your elbows out and stretch your sit bones back. Did you see what I did? So here, I was just being my normal self. Now, when you activate, so watch the hip on an exhale. You see how the hip can go down. And then keep that and inhale, lengthen the spine. And you repeat that little exercise over and over again. If you need height, you can take height. You can actually, if you can sit, but can't get all that arm work going, you use your chair. And you can do this. Okay. The second part of that is we're going to roll through to, what is it? Oh, well, anyway, Cobra. Okay, so we're going to come from here. We're going to draw the floor to us, keep our base low, roll through, draw the knees in so you're on top of your kneecap, shoulders are back, head is up. You can do this from a chair with some similar results, okay? From the chair. It would be resting the arms on the wall, stretching the arms out, and then pulling down on the floor, okay? So again, the point is to notice what, if anything, we're doing with our pelvis. Okay, so when we sit on our heels, there is all kinds of encouragements to do all kinds of things. And we want to be reminded to draw the pelvis up and sit on our heels. And so we go, of course, the hips are going to come up at first. You can take glasses off if this is easy without glasses. If it's not, it's fine. Okay, so then we want to lengthen as we go forward. So you're going to walk your hands forward and with the intention of keeping the sit bones down. They may come up, but have that intention. Then you can either fold your arms and rest your head on your arms, or you can keep your arms long. Now, before you take your head down, make an action through the legs, draw back through the hip crease, take the sit bones down, and then take the head down. You can, there's some slight retraction of the shoulders possible, but not
Susie, you're frozen. We can't hear you.
Am I still frozen?
No.
I'm good now? Good, okay. How far did we get in the last exercise? Did we do about 2-3 rounds? No? Okay, so let's go back then, because now it's so good. It's so snaky. And it's really good for taking care of the hips, the legs, the ab, everything. It's a whole body deal. So we're good now. I had a little glitch and the Zoom screen came up for a moment, but then it went away, so I thought we were okay. So sorry. We'll go back. So sit in Virasana. Thank you, sorry. And just be aware, draw your abdomen up, be aware of, I don't know about you, see, not everybody has the same habits, but I have a habit of sort of just dumping my pelvis, my belly forward. So that's my habit, and I have to know that that's my habit, and I would prefer that it be a little more part of what I'm doing. So then, once I've addressed that, keep that attention. So when you come forward, you don't just let it go. You keep it, you walk your hands forward, you keep your hips on your sit bones, on your heel bones as much as possible. And then if you can put your head down, put it on the floor, otherwise use your crossed arms. Then lift your head up, draw your trunk forward, keep your face close to the floor for a bit, and then go through, hit the kneecaps on the floor, pubic bone on the floor, push the hands down, lift the chest up, pull with your arms to lengthen your spine. Shoulders back, chest open, and then hips up. Sit back. Take a breath, under armpits down, sit bones down. So you may have to walk your hands forward and backward a bit. Then, as you inhale, pull your face forward. Adjust your knees, pubis down, chest up, shoulders back. Breathe, pull with your arms. And lift up again. Sit back. Push your sit bones down again. And then one more. Pull it forward. Address the knees, pubis down, pull with your arms, pull your chest forward. And up you go, and sit back. Now get your hips down. And then walk your hands in. Sit on your heels. Draw your knees together. When you do, draw your ankles together. All right. Then we'll sit. You sit. I'm going to just change my view. Here you go. So if you need a blanket now, It'd probably be a good time to retrieve a blanket. Sit in Dandasana. You all know how that's done. And you all know who you are. Draw this thigh and hip flesh back. Just all your clothes. Get yourself just right. Draw the big toes together. You know, it's odd. I know there's one other person in here that has my same issue in that, let's scoot back some more so you can see my feet. My big toes don't want to go together. I get the balls of those bunions together. The toes, another matter. And so that doesn't mean we don't try. It just means we work with what we have. So I think maybe you can see now that my feet, my heels are out quite a bit in this pose. That's right here. So I'm going to allow that because the instruction was to put my big toes together. All right. Now, not everybody has this issue, but I'm just calling out how we all have to work with parts of us that don't always cooperate. And what I found by doing this is also that if I acknowledge that there's a issue there that I need to address, if I simply acknowledge it, work with it, and then slowly begin to move toward the ideal, which is the heels together as well, I can make a lot more progress than I would otherwise. So never try to ignore what we may perceive as shortcomings. Don't do that. Acknowledge them. This is not working the way I want. What can I do to make that better? And if you've got toe issues, this is a lot of work just to play with your toes. So if you're going to do that for a while, you can get yourself some support. But we're going to move on. So then we're going to lift up, shoulders down, head back. Dandasana. Now, notice where your pelvis is. What's happening? What happened to those thighs? Moving into the hip socket and back in this case. The front thigh should draw back into the hip socket, and the hamstrings that you're sitting on should spread. Draw your pelvis up. Lengthen up through your waist. Press your thighs down. Shoulders go down. Neck is long. Chest. Head back. And breathe. All right. So relax a little bit. We're going to take our legs apart. It's important now to have your mat under your heels. It's more important under the heels than the hips. If you can do both, hooray for you. That's just fun. One way to find that out is to put your heels on the front edge of the mat and then scoot your hips forward. And you're probably going to need a strap here in a minute, so before you get too sprawled out, grab your strap. All right. So now we know the feet like to go one way or another here. Many people, their toes like to relax and go outward. Other people relax and their toes go inward. So if your toes aren't straight up right away, that's a clue that you need to do a little more work, okay? But even so, you may need to do a little more work. So we're going to pull the toes back toward us, extend the heels forward. As you press your toes forward, start with the ball of your big toe, push that forward, pull all the toes backward, but press the ball of the toe forward, so spread your foot. Now bring your trunk directly above your hips. What I find when I do that, I'm a little more pliable here in the forward bending. Don't ask me why. That wasn't always the case. But so easy for me to fall into that trap. So and if you're more backward bending, then you've got to work equally hard. So neither one of those is right. We want to be straight. And so keep extending your legs, pressing the legs down, drawing your trunk up, and getting your pelvis more and more perpendicular to the floor, engaging tailbone, pubic bone, lifting the pelvic floor. Get your base firm, and then release up through the waist, inside the rib cage, up, so that the shoulders can release downward. Your fingers can press the floor and press forward just a bit, head back. When we bend forward in any pose, we need to remember to engage in the hip area, this power area first. Otherwise, our back takes too much of the movement. So take an inhale, supercharge your movement through your trunk, get it nice and strong and ready to go. Get the legs pressing down and bring your hands forward. And absolutely keep the length in your trunk. Draw your shoulder blades back, lift your chest, sit bones go toward the floor. Pull with your arms, get a little bit of traction with your fingers, and pull with your fingers and help yourself lengthen and lift. Keep those legs busy. So my arms are busy, my legs are busy, everything is working. And breathe. Now if you can go further, by all means, take it further. The rules are the same, no matter how far forward you go. And getting the extension through the back and the hip without letting those sit bones fly up is part of the fun. See how low can you go? You should definitely be feeling something here, but it should not feel like you're about to pop something loose. So feel that stretch. Use the feet, draw the kneecaps up, outer hips in, lengthen your trunk. Now walk your hands back in and relax for a moment. Now we're going to go to the side. This takes a lot more thought than you might imagine. It did for me. So I'll go, this is my left, but it'll look better for you. So this will be like your right. So we're going to take our strap and just put it around our foot for a moment and have it nearby so it's there when we're ready. We don't have to go looking for it. Now then, reconstitute your Upavishta. Okay, so press that inner heel down, ball of the big forward, tighten the kneecaps, draw the thighs up, sit bones down, tailbone down, pubic bone up. They move together, pelvic floor lifts. It's very good for all of us to do that. Lift up through your waist, shoulders back and down, and breathe. Now, we're going to turn our trunk to the right. We have to keep our mind on this left leg. It thinks we're not watching it anymore. So set your mind on that spot, right on that inner heel where the foot is touching. And then begin your journey around to the right. So you move your arms, one front, one back. Keep your part of your mind on that heel. And you use your arms to help you twist. Use your breath to help you twist. So as you inhale, lift up, adjust and align yourself. As you exhale, twist, release around. Check that back heel, inhale. Exhale, twist. Both legs firm on the ground. Inhale, lift. Exhale, twist. Now, keep your right hand on the floor and just bind your belt with your left. See if you can keep your focus while you kind of wiggle it into place. Check your focus. Check that back foot. Check your trunk. Check everything before you let go with the hand on the floor. And hold on to what you gained. Get hold of your strap. And lift. Press your legs down. Tighten your kneecaps. Take that spot on the back heel. Turn your trunk. So that's the left side moving forward, the right side moving back. Shoulders down, chest lifts, head up. And breathe. And then slowly release that. Take your belt to the other side. Reset yourself on the floor. The hip flesh moving back. And then plant your sit bones on the floor. Heels on the floor. Balls of the big toes forward, toes back. Kneecap lifted, which presses the kneecaps down on the floor. Then, fingertips behind, work on the pelvis. Keep the legs working as you manipulate that pelvis to be more vertical. Shoulders down. Trunk lifts equally. The breath is smooth. Now then, we're going to take the right hand, so keep a firm pressure on the left. Take the right hand forward. Adjust the left hand. Lift up. Make sure your legs are doing what they're meant to do. Pay attention to that point on your right heel so that your back foot stays engaged. Kneecaps lift. Lift your trunk, inhale. As you exhale, press your eyes with your hands on the floor and twist your trunk. And inhale, lift up, engage your legs, check everything. As you exhale, twist. Inhale, legs, feet and legs. Exhale, twist. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Now keep your left arm strong. Grab your belt. Get hold of your belt. Get some tension on your belt. Get some stability. Check your base. And then carefully release that left hand. Get your strap. Hold the strap in two hands. And use that now to help you twist your trunk. Pull firmly on that strap. Release your trunk more and more around to face your left leg. Next inhale. Slowly, slowly. Come back to center. Done with the strap. Soften those knees. Draw your feet in. Pull your heels toward you. Close as you can. And then hands behind. Lift your hips up, push them towards your heels. In the beginning, I don't concern myself that my knees are up. I'm happy to be out of the last pose. And so I'm happy here. And there's a release and a relief here. But then as the mind can transition and assess what it's doing here, then you think, okay, well, we talked about the pelvis first. So before we go to our legs, let's think about what the pelvis and trunk are doing, because they're stable now. Mr. Iyengar refers to stable intelligence, which is the things that are our base, the things that are not particularly moving, and then the mobile intelligence that you're moving and how they interact. All right, so stable intelligence is the trunk and the arms. Mobile intelligence is the legs. Press those guys down. Ooh. And breathe. I'm coming up because I need to mute. Okay. Okay, so come out. Now, stretch your legs out. Dandasana. Full hip flesh back. Join your big toes. After you've joined them, see if you can scoot your heels a little closer and stretch all your toes out. Just play with your toes for a moment. Then pull them back more. Pull them back more. Extend the heel, draw the upper thigh back into the sit bone. Outer sit bones of outer thighs in. Feel that, how that changes your Dandasana. So draw that bone, the femur bone, into the hip socket. It's not something we think of just normally. Then lift up through your waist, fingertips on the floor. Without that, you don't have the leverage. And you have the excuse to actually kind of be relaxed, right? So with the hands back, it's add attention. All right, so relax. So now we're going to go to the wall. We're going to relax and use that pelvis in a completely different way. So you will need your mat, your bolster, and 1 or 2 blankets. If your bolster is a bit high for you, you could use a couple of blankets instead, or you could use your bolster and get all of your blankets, and I'll show you. You're going to set up your mat perpendicular to the wall. Oh, you need a block as well. So you can see that my block is at the wall on its lowest side because I want my hips to go over this bolster. Then, planning ahead, when I'm done here, I want to be able to slide back. So I'm going to make it smoother and softer by putting a blanket here. Now, if you cannot get your shoulders to the floor in this, proportion is an issue, and flexibility, spinal flexibility can be a reason why. You can use another mat to lift.
Okay? And you can, I think I would fold it more like this. So I took it from this size, and I folded it in half. Okay? And that will lift this side of it up for you. Okay? And then we're going to sit on the edge. So this is the edge of my hip, and the other hip is up the wall. Support yourself with your hand, roll over, your legs up the wall, hold onto your bolster, wiggle your hips toward the wall, so the hips themselves sort of fall down and hit the block. Your waist is in the middle. Your shoulders can hit this little blanket. You have the head slightly supported. Shoulders should touch the floor. So if you need more support, maybe you need an open blanket and then this blanket, you can figure that out. Take off your glasses. Extend your feet, spread your toes. What everybody's doing. And then, once you feel settled, begin to soften that action of pulling down with the hips. Your legs need to stay up the wall, but not rigid. But get your hips as close to the wall as you can, and then comfortably straighten your legs on the wall. So get your hips close to the wall. And your middle of your waist is in the center. Issue right now, just lay flat on the floor, hips close to the wall, legs up the wall. You can review this tape later on and practice some variations in the setup for yourself so that it should feel relieving. There should not be just the smallest amount of stretch in the legs. And the pelvis is parallel to the floor. So the pubic bone is not tipped upward away from, and then the lumbar gets pressed down, right? So we want our pelvis level, our chest open, shoulders down, neck long. Then begin to release yourself into that pose. Arms by your side. Elbows can be bent or arms can be straight. Sometimes I find I want to start in one way and then I want to proceed to the other way. So it's not static. But really begin now to soften and quiet your breath. Give time for your mind and your body to absorb the work that you've done. Feel the difference, relaxed and released, what they call core. So those upper thighs, upper outer thighs, tailbone, pubic bone, which engages lower abs. Soften all that. Let your chest open in this position. And as you breathe, let the breath feel the upper portion of your chest as you inhale. And as you exhale, soften your shoulders down even more. Slow, steady breath. Relax your jaw and your tongue. Relax your eyes. And now slowly deepen your breath. Bend your knees. Keep the sit bones down. So the act of bending your knees causes you to open your chest more. Bend your knees into your chest. And take your feet as far down the wall as they will go, and arch your back here and lift your chest. Feet are on the wall. And you roll out right side. Or you can push straight back into the room and cross your legs on your bolster. Push back off of your bolster, so hold your bolster. Push back till your hips are on the floor, and then cross your legs onto your bolster. And again, rest for a moment. Settle your shoulder blades down, long neck. Relax all those cranial muscles, the muscles in your head, so that your jaw is relaxed, your tongue is relaxed. Your eyes soften and descend deep in the socket. The muscles on your skull, just above your ears, relax. It feels like the ears soften and move toward the floor. As you draw your senses inward, thinking of that sense of smell, even the breath itself becoming more of an internal activity. The sense of hearing, turning inward to listen to, be attentive to your inner voice, your inner self. Change the cross of your legs, and then resume that relaxing sequence, softening, turning inward, focusing on the breath. And then deepen your breath, slowly, one breath at a time. Draw your knees together. Bring your arms up overhead and roll on your right side, resting on your right arm. Left hand on the floor in front of you. Take a few breaths there. And then roll forward. Push yourself up to sitting using your hands. Sit in any comfortable position. Be attentive to the attitude of the pelvis, the action of your pelvic muscles in supporting this seated position. It's a much lighter touch, it's a much lighter action right now. Be attentive. Can you create that lift of the pelvic floor, that gentle lift of the pelvic floor by being aware of the tailbone, pubic bone? Can you let that lift come up through your trunk gently now, very organically, as if it's always been there? Supporting your shoulders, head, and neck. Slow, steady breath. And join your palms. Bring the thumb side to the sternum. Take a moment to bring all of the edges of your palms together. Soften your shoulders down as you lift that sternum skin. Take an inhale, lifting the trunk. Keep that lift as you bow your head and exhale. Take a moment to be grateful for all the blessings of your life. Namaste. And thank you for coming.